Will College Sports Commission really be able to police money paid to athletes? There are still a lot of questions that remain in the few days since information about the new regulations pertaining to collegiate athlete compensation was made public. The question that seems to matter most to the coaching staffs who have to create rosters, however, is as old as time itself. Will the new College Sports Commission be able to effectively oversee the money that will unavoidably be transferred under the table? The thing about the so-called Wild West era of name, image, and likeness, as unregulated and messy as it seemed at times, was that everyone knew the score. It might not seem logical for a booster collective to pay $750,000 for an unproven left tackle, but it was, in a strange way, all above board and out in the open. The new world after the House versus NCAA settlement is going to be different in several ways, at least on paper. A benefits cap of $20.5 million per institution, which will increase yearly. Athletes must file outside of nil deals exceeding $600 for clearance through an online clearinghouse operated by the well-known accounting firm Deloitte. The clearinghouse is driven by an algorithm that calculates market value. The goal is to identify booster fuel transactions that have allowed athletes to pursue the so-called real NIL-like product endorsements while creating what some administrators like to refer to as a phony market for players. An athlete can employ an arbitration procedure that is still a little unclear if a contract gets rejected, where a supposedly independent person, or persons, will have the final say on whether a deal goes through. Some kind of subpoena power that would be used in such a process, though it's unclear exactly how far-reaching that power will be. Are we talking about bank and tax records, text messages, and the impact of non-compliance? Would a court of law really intervene to enforce the subpoena? Schools will be able to offer multi-year contracts with buyouts and penalties, which is possibly the biggest change to the fan experience that has been utterly upended by an unregulated transfer climate. For example, the buyout paid by the new school would be deducted from its limit if a player wanted to transfer after the first year of a 2-year contract. We are aware that unless Congress steps in, all of this will eventually be the focus of additional litigation and investigation. Without some kind of collective bargaining procedure, the entire concept of setting specific earning caps for athletes is likely to fail in the long run. There's a tinge of Jerry Seinfeld's attitude, even in the hallways of NCAA headquarters these days, on whether any of these restrictions will stand up after years of losing badly in court. Good luck with all that. However, this is what the power conferences eventually want. They have this show. These restrictions were established by them, and they are ultimately responsible for coming up with a solution if this doesn't work. Some of the people that put a lot of time and effort into creating this new setup are understandably annoyed by cynical commentary about whether it will work before it even gets off the ground. But a lot of the most cynical people are in their homes. There are valid worries about whether the CSC and Deloitte will actually be able to follow the money, based on the signals I've received from coaches who, let's face it, have a far better understanding of how the real world operates than the C-suite people. What if, for instance, an athlete strikes a deal with a booster and just doesn't report it to the clearinghouse? Will there truly be a mechanism to find it and police it? That was always the NCAA's problem with enforcement. It was difficult, if not impossible, to compel cooperation without subpoena power. How broad will the subpoena power be? Even though arbitration procedures like the one described in the House settlement will grant some kind of it. Will each state have different power? Will it actually be implemented? Will the school be able to evade sanctions by claiming ignorance if someone is caught? If that's the case, we're essentially back where we started. Furthermore, the wording in the guidelines raises doubts about Deloitte's ability to reject an agreement provided by a business entity, such as a car dealership acting as a pass-through, but sponsored by a booster group, as sports lawyer Darren Heitner noted this past weekend on X. Don't scoff. Lack of imagination is what got these guys into a bad situation in the first place. When NIL became legal in 2021, few saw the true impact of collectives coming. And the whole thing about buyouts limiting transfers? What if agents just simply don't allow their players to sign a contract that would truly limit their ability to change schools without repercussions for themselves or their new school? It's not like athletic departments have done a great job negotiating those things when it comes to their own coaching contracts. It is not helpful to declare the new system hopeless at this point in the game. Maybe Congress will step in and formalize these material to some degree, but it seems unlikely given the current political environment and governmental priorities. And perhaps the CSC's many safeguards will help to maintain order to some degree. The people who deal with recruiting realities on a daily basis, however, are wondering if they're in for a fair fight or if this is just a new way for cheaters to pull an old trick, now that PowerPoint presentations and Q&A documents are being distributed ahead of the July 1st implementation. You can be sure that some individuals will try to find actual holes in it in a few weeks, so it's better to poke those speculative ones now. Thanks for watching USA Signal, your source for real news, real fast. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.